You hear the term global economy thrown around all the time, right? But what does that actually mean? Well, today, we're going to follow one simple product, a coffee bean, on its wild ride from a small local shop to a big global brand. And along the way, we're going to unpack the massive forces that shape our world.
So, where does our story begin? Well, it starts small, with a single company and a really, really good cup of coffee. So, picture this. There's this amazing coffee company in Vietnam. They've absolutely perfected their roast. They've got a ton of loyal customers at home. I mean, they make a fantastic product.
Naturally, they start to think bigger. They look at a map and set their sights on the United States, one of the biggest coffee-drinking markets on the planet. The goal seems simple enough. Just export the beans and go global. But, as you can probably guess, it is anything but simple.
Because the second their coffee leaves the country, it slams right into its first big obstacle, what we call trade walls.
See, the minute that bag of coffee crosses a border, it's not just a business deal anymore. Suddenly it's a political issue, because you better believe governments pay very close attention to what comes in and what goes out. And the go-to tool for this? It's called a tariff. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book. At its core, it's just a tax on imports. The whole point is to jack up the price of foreign stuff to make the homegrown products look more attractive.
So why on earth would a government do this? Well, they'll give you a few big reasons. They'll say it's about protecting local jobs from cheaper competition. Or maybe it's to protect industries that are crucial for national security. Sometimes it's just straight-up retaliation. And other times, it's framed as protecting you, the consumer, from things that might be unsafe. So here's what that means for our coffee company. That extra cost, that tariff, it gets tacked right onto the price tag. All of a sudden, their Vietnamese coffee costs more on a shelf in California than one roasted right down the street. It makes it incredibly hard to compete, no matter how good their coffee is.
So our company's stuck. They can't just keep trying to climb this wall. It's too expensive. So what do? Well, they get creative. They figure out a way to build inside the wall.
Okay, so they've got a few options on the table. One, they could just keep exporting and suck up the cost of the tariff. Not great for profits. Two, they could license their brand to a US company, but then you risk losing control, maybe someone steals your secret recipe, right? Or there's the third option, the big one, foreign direct investment. And that's the path they take. This is a huge deal. FDI means they're not just sending over bags of beans anymore. Nope, they're actually going to build a whole roasting facility right there on US soil. It's a massive, expensive, complicated move, but it gets them around the tariff problem completely.
Now, if you're the US, you're probably loving this. Inward FDI, as it's called, is often seen as a huge win. It brings money and new technology into the country. It creates jobs, people to build the plant, people to run it, and it adds another competitor to the market, which usually means better prices and more choices for all of us coffee lovers. But of course, it's a balancing act. There's a flip side, and this is where it gets tricky. People worry that a huge foreign company could just crush smaller local coffee shops. And while it creates jobs, the profits don't stay in the community. They get sent back to Vietnam. There's also this bigger fear, this feeling of losing control when major decisions for your town are being made in a boardroom halfway across the world. And that right there is the core tension of globalization. Okay, so our company has made this massive move, setting up shop in the US to get around those tariffs. But here's where something really interesting happens, something they probably didn't even plan on. A whole new world of opportunity just opened up. By landing in the US, they've basically just gotten a membership to one of the world's biggest regional trade blocs. And yeah, you can totally think of it like a neighborhood club for countries. Once you're in the club, all the members agree to play by a special set of rules that make it way easier to do business with each other.
And just like any club, there are different levels of membership, you know? It can be pretty casual, like a free trade area where you just agree to get rid of tariffs between each other. Or it can get really serious really fast, all the way up to an economic union, like the EU, with its own currency and even a political union.
And this is the huge payoff. This is the whole point. Because our company is now making its coffee in the US, it's officially an American product. And that means, thanks to a big trade deal called the USMCA, they can now ship that same coffee to customers in Canada and Mexico with absolutely zero tariffs. That one risky investment just unlocked all of North America.
So, things are going great. The company is booming, selling coffee all over North America. But there's one last challenge. It's invisible, it's unpredictable, and it's happening every single second of every day. Welcome to the currency game. Look, they're making money in US dollars, but their home base is in Vietnam, so they have to report their profits in Vietnamese dong. Now just look at this. When they made a sale, 100 grand in sales was worth 2.5 billion dong. Awesome! But by the time they actually got paid, the exchange rate had shifted just a tiny bit. That same 100 grand is now worth 100 million dong less. That's a huge hit to their profit, all from something totally out of their control.
So how do you fight something you can't even see coming? Well, the short answer is you don't. You get insurance. And in the world of international finance, this insurance is called hedging.
And here's how it works. It's actually pretty brilliant. The company can just go to a bank and use something called a forward contract. Basically, they agree right now, today, on the exact exchange rate they'll use in 3 months. They lock it in. So it doesn't matter what the market does, their rate is set, their profit is protected. Problem solved. So, we followed this one little coffee bean on this incredible global adventure. What does it all mean? What does its journey tell us about the world we live in?
Well, it shows that all these big, abstract ideas are connected to your life in very real ways. Those tariffs, they affect the price of the phone in your pocket. That foreign investment, it could be the reason for jobs or a lack of them in your town. These huge trade blocks, they're shaping the economic world you live in. And that invisible currency risk, it's what keeps the whole global system on its toes. The journey of this coffee bean really is the story of our modern economy. And it leaves us with one huge question. As we look to the future, are we going to be building more bridges, through more investment, more trade agreements? Or are we heading into a new era of building higher and higher walls? That's the real question.